Have you ever had an amp that has scratchy pots, volume dropouts? Sometimes you turn the knob and it makes a crickle, crackle sound and you just completely lose volume or you have volume spikes. Well, today we're going to take a look at this Marshall Master Lead Combo 30 from 1982 that has that very issue. And we're going to talk about how to fix it. Using some of this stuff, screwdriver, some elbow grease, and some brains, you can do it too. Let's get started. So when you're working on an amp like this, the first thing you want to do, obviously, with any amp is unplug everything. So let's unplug the power cord. This one has a detachable power cord. I'm going to unplug it both from the amp and from the outlet. I don't like leaving things plugged in that aren't plugged in. Just the wire plugged in is probably safe, but better safe than sorry. Speaking of better safe than sorry, with this stuff here that we're going to use, this is some electrical contact cleaner. We're going to use this to spray into the potentiometers that control these knobs. So what happens is the knobs get dirty, there might be some corrosion in there, there might just be some filth in there, who knows. This amp will turn 40 years old in June according to the serial number. So it's old, it's probably dirty. So you get some contact cleaner and you open the amp up and you spray it in there. So like I was saying about safety, this has crazy warning labels. Do not get in your eyes, do not swallow, do not inhale, do not allow skin contact, etc. So I recommend, if you're going to be doing this job, get you some goggles, get you some gloves. So I'm going to get ready to go here and we'll move to the next part. Now I want to mention right now, the reason I didn't demonstrate the crackling pots to you is with this amp it seems to be a little bit temperamental. It only does it when it feels like it. I tried to do it a few times before rolling the camera. It did it sometimes, then it stopped. It'll come back if I leave it for more than a day, so we're going to go ahead and do the job anyway. But a crackling pot or a dirty pot, the telltale signs of that are you turn the knob and it goes makes a crackling sound, or you lose volume or something like that. Anyway, so now that I got my safety equipment on, the next thing that we're going to do is turn the amp around. Alright. Now, most guitar amplifiers are built this way. You have an amplifier section on the top and your speaker is on the bottom. Usually what you're going to do is you're going to unscrew the amplifier section and it slides out the back. The front is made in such a way that it won't fall out the front because that would be terrible. So with this amp, all amps are different, but with this amp in particular, it appears that there's 4 screws on metal pieces up here at the top, and I believe that is what's holding this amp in. It's also laying on top of a piece of wood with a little shelf on either side here. And then obviously you have the speaker. The speaker is hardwired. It's not like some amps where it's on a clip that slides on. This is actually soldered on. So I'm going to go ahead and unscrew these 4 screws on top, and I'll come back to you when I've got all those screws off. I got all 4 of the screws out. It could hardly have been easier. There's just these metal pieces here. I'm going to pull those out now. This one's not out all the way. Go. All right. Now, this is incredibly important when you're working on an amp. Just because it's unplugged doesn't mean it's fully discharged of power. There are ways to discharge it using certain devices and apparatuses. I don't have that. So, if you don't have that either, which you probably don't, be very, very, very careful when you're inside an amplifier. There is a lethal amount of electricity inside these things. The power adapter and power supply is right here. So your danger zone is going to be near there. So I'm going to be very careful as I remove this so that we can get to those potentiometers in the front of the amp. So I'm going to go ahead, it should just slide back. There we go. It could hardly be simpler. Alright. I don't want it to fall. small that I think it's going to stay. So let me go ahead and adjust the camera so that we can get a good shot at what I'm doing now at this point. Okay, so as you can see, there's the potentiometers. Those might look familiar because they look just like the ones that are inside of a guitar, electric guitar. So here's our stuff. This is just contact cleaner that I got at my hardware store. Try to focus it. Alright, it does say that it's safe on plastics. That doesn't really matter in this case because these are metal. Basically all you do, it's got a little straw attachment on the end. You see how there's a little opening on each of these? You're going to take your little straw, stick it in there, and apply a generous amount of fluid. So let me see if I can do this without electrocuting myself. There you go. I'm going to get right in that hole. There you go. It's kind of hard to get it just right. Okay, so I'm going to move on and do the others and show you what to do next. While the contact cleaner is still wet in there, you want to come around and you want to turn all the knobs. This kind of helps work the fluid through. They feel like they're a little looser now. It's probably because the inside of that pot is lubricated. There we go. All right, I'm gonna let this, well, I'm gonna screw the top parts back in here, let this sit for a few minutes, and then we'll come back and take a look at it. Now I've got it back together, so I can ditch the safety equipment. All right, let's let this sit for a few more minutes. I just want to reiterate, after you do this, you do need to let it sit for a little bit. It might be tempting to turn it on right away, and it's probably safe to do that. However, there is moisture in there. If you apply power to it and turn it on, even though it's contact cleaner, who knows? You don't want to short out your amp. So I'm going to let this sit for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then we will come back, plug it in, turn it on, see how it sounds. So I've let it sit for about 10 or 15 minutes. I've not tested this yet. I'm going to test it live on the camera here. So if we have a problem, you're going to see it happen on the camera. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plug it in. So here's the power cord. All right, let's turn it on, see what happens. None of the pots are cracking. All right. Seems to be working good. So I'm going to plug the guitar into it now. Let's turn it up, see how it sounds. Got to have the SG, right? This is a Marshall lead after all. Turn it on. There's that 30 watts of combo goodness, analog solid state goodness. So I am going to do a review of this amp down the road, but that's just a little taste of what it sounds like. All of our problems seem to have gone away, all of the crackliness seems to have gone, and I couldn't be happier with it now. Turning 40 in a couple of months, so I got to do a review on it, right? So stay tuned. Please subscribe, please like, please comment. I want to know what you think about this. Please join the Discord if you want to talk about guitars, gear, etc. How to find something like this guy right here. Thanks again, really appreciate it. I'll see you next time.